Welcome back to Old Coins Explorer, where we uncover the history, details, varieties, and potential value hidden inside ordinary-looking coins. Today, we have a very interesting United States coin that many collectors might simply spend without giving it a second look. This is a 1981 D Washington quarter dollar, and the D mint mark tells us that this coin was produced at the Denver Mint. At first glance, the heavy wear and unusual-looking details may make this quarter appear much more mysterious than a normal circulated coin. But is this actually a rare mint error? Or are we looking at normal wear and striking characteristics that have become exaggerated over time? That is exactly what we are going to investigate in this video, step by step, without making unrealistic claims about its value. We will examine the date, mint mark, metal composition, design, condition, possible errors, and the important features visible in the photographs. We will also compare the coin's appearance with what collectors normally expect from a genuine 1981 D Washington quarter. So if you have a 1981 quarter sitting in an old collection, coin jar, drawer, or inherited collection, keep watching until the end. Because sometimes the most interesting part of a coin is not its face value, but the story behind how it was made and how it survived for decades. Identification and basic specifications. The coin shown here is a United States Washington quarter dated 1981, with a D mint mark indicating the Denver Mint. The Washington quarter was designed by engraver John Flanagan, whose portrait of George Washington appears on the obverse of the coin. The denomination is 25 cents, or 1/4 of a United States dollar. According to Piece GS, the 1981 D regular strike quarter had a reported mintage of 575,722,833 pieces, so this date and mint combination was not produced in extremely small numbers. The standard diameter is approximately 24.30 millimeters, while the official weight is approximately 5.67 grams. The edge is reeded, meaning it contains the familiar series of raised lines around the circumference of the coin. This quarter belongs to the copper-nickel clad era that began in 1965, rather than the older 90% silver Washington quarter series. PCGS describes the composition as 75% copper and 25% nickel over a pure copper center, which is the standard clad construction for this coin. The coin in the photograph has clearly circulated for a considerable amount of time, with substantial surface wear visible on both sides. Therefore, the first important identification is straightforward. This is a 1981 D-clad Washington quarter, not a silver 1981 quarter. Obverse details. On the obverse, we can see the familiar left-facing portrait of George Washington, the first president of the United States. Above his portrait is the inscription Liberty, while the national motto, I in God, we trust, appears to the left of Washington's portrait. The date 1981 is positioned at the bottom of the obverse and is clearly part of the coin's identification. The small D mint mark is located behind Washington's neck, identifying the Denver Mint as the place of manufacture. One important point is that the mint mark should not automatically be interpreted as an error simply because it looks unusual in a worn photograph. Circulation, contact marks, dye, wear, dirt, and lighting can make letters and mint marks appear distorted or doubled. The Washington portrait on this particular coin has very extensive wear, especially around the hair, cheek, jaw, and neck areas. Some details have become soft and flattened, which is normal for a coin that has spent many years circulating through commerce. Because the coin is heavily circulated, determining a precise grade from photographs alone would be difficult and should be treated as an estimate rather than a professional certification. For a serious value determination, the coin would need careful examination under magnification and, if warranted, professional grading. Reverse design and condition. Turning the coin over, we see the classic reverse design featuring an American eagle with outstretched wings. The eagle is surrounded by the inscriptions United States of America and E Pluribus Unum, with quarter dollar at the bottom. The reverse also contains the traditional olive branches and arrows associated with the Washington quarter design. The photographs show considerable wear across the eagle, lettering, branches, and other raised portions of the reverse. This level of circulation wear is important because worn coins can sometimes create the illusion of unusual shapes or doubled lettering. A genuine double die generally produces specific, consistent secondary design elements rather than random blurry or flattened surfaces. Likewise, scratches, polishing, impacts, and environmental damage can create lines that may look dramatic in a close-up photograph. The reverse of this coin, therefore, needs to be examined carefully before anyone labels it a major mint error. Collectors should especially inspect the lettering, eagle's wing feathers, tail feathers, and the rim for consistent evidence of a true mint-made variety. From the photographs alone, the safest conclusion is that the coin is a heavily circulated 1981D Washington quarter with possible areas that deserve closer examination, not a confirmed major error. The strong hook, or unusual feature. Now let's talk about the feature that makes this coin interesting for a YouTube audience and gives us our strongest investigative angle. The coin has several areas where the worn design, surface marks, and lighting can make the portrait and lettering appear unusually shaped. However, collectors must understand the difference between a true mint error, a die variety, and ordinary damage that happened after the coin left the mint. A true double die is created during the die-making process and normally produces recognizable, repeatable doubling in specific design areas. By contrast, machine doubling can produce flat or shelf-like secondary impressions and is generally not considered the same thing as a valuable double die. A strong error claim should therefore never be based only on the fact that a coin looks strange in one photograph. For this 1981D quarter, the most interesting next step would be a close inspection of the date, Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, the D mint mark, and major reverse lettering. A 5x to 10x loop would make it much easier to determine whether suspicious shapes are raised, incuse, flat, scratched, or actually part of the original die design. If the suspected feature matches a documented variety, the coin could become considerably more interesting to collectors. Until that comparison is completed, it is better to describe the feature as unusual and worth investigating, rather than calling it a confirmed rare error. Value and what the market really says. Now we come to the question that almost every viewer wants answered. How much could this 1981D quarter be worth? The important thing to understand is that the date alone does not make this coin a high dollar rarity because the Denver Mint produced more than 575 million examples in 1981. For an ordinary circulated example like the one shown here, the market value is generally close to its face value unless a significant variety or error is confirmed. NGC's current guide for the 1981D quarter shows relatively modest values through most circulated and lower uncirculated grades, with higher prices appearing as condition improves. High-grade examples are a different story because collectors compete for coins with exceptional preservation, strong strikes, and attractive surfaces. PCGS records an auction result of $375 for an MS-67 example, showing how dramatically condition can change the value of an otherwise common date. There are also genuine 1981D mint errors that could be worth dramatically more than a normal quarter. For example, Heritage Auctions reported a 1981D flip-over double strike error graded MS-64 by PCGS that sold for $7,200 in 2020. That sale demonstrates why authentic mint errors must be separated from ordinary wear and damage when discussing value. So for the exact coin shown in these photographs, I would not claim a high value without first confirming a legitimate error or variety and establishing the coin's grade. What collectors should check for errors? If you have a 1981D quarter, there are several areas you should inspect before putting it back into your collection box. First, examine the date, 1981 under magnification, and look for clear, consistent secondary outlines rather than random scratches or flattened edges. Next, inspect Liberty and In God We Trust for genuine mechanical doubling that affects the design in a recognizable pattern. Then move to the reverse and examine United States of America, E pluribus unum, and quarter dollar. The eagle's wings, feathers, and tail can also reveal unusual die characteristics or striking problems. The mint mark should be inspected closely as well, although a strange-looking D is not automatically proof of a rare mint error. Collectors should also check the rim for off-center strikes, broad strikes, die breaks, cuds, or other genuine mint-made abnormalities. Documented 1981 quarter errors include possibilities such as double dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchet strikes, die cracks, and other striking abnormalities. The key is to distinguish raised mint-made characteristics from scratches, dents, corrosion, cleaning, and other post-mint damage. If your coin shows a dramatic feature that survives careful magnification and comparison with known examples, professional attribution may be worthwhile. Final verdict on this specific coin. After looking at both photographs, the strongest identification is a 1981 D Washington quarter in heavily circulated condition. The date is consistent with 1981, and the visible D mint mark indicates Denver production. The overall design matches the standard Washington quarter type used during this period. The coin's extensive wear is one of the most obvious characteristics, and this wear makes the smaller design details difficult to interpret with certainty. I do not see enough evidence from these photographs alone to confidently declare this coin a major double die or another major mint error. That does not mean the coin is worthless or uninteresting, because every genuine coin has a story and some unusual-looking features deserve closer inspection. The most responsible collector approach is to avoid internet claims that every strange-looking 1981 quarter is automatically worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. A genuine high-value error needs identifiable mint-made evidence, and ideally confirmation from a recognized attribution or grading service. If further examination reveals a documented variety or major mint error, the valuation could change substantially. For now, I would classify the photograph piece as a circulated 1981 D Washington quarter with an interesting appearance that deserves further examination rather than a confirmed jackpot coin. Closing and call to action. So, collectors, what do you think about this 1981 D Washington quarter? And do you see any feature that we should investigate more closely? Remember that coin collecting is not simply about finding a coin worth thousands of dollars overnight. It is about learning how coins were designed, manufactured, circulated, damaged, preserved, and eventually discovered by collectors decades later. This particular quarter is a perfect example of why careful observation is so important when searching through older American coins. A small mint mark, an unusual die characteristic, a striking error, or an exceptionally high grade can sometimes completely change the story of a coin. But at the same time, collectors should always verify extraordinary claims before believing an online valuation. If you enjoyed this detailed investigation, make sure you stay connected with Old Coins Explorer for more American coins, foreign coins, varieties, errors, and historical treasures. And if you have a 1981 D quarter with unusual doubling, an unusual mint mark, a strange rim, or another mysterious feature, share the details so it can be investigated properly. Thank you for watching, and remember that the next valuable discovery could be hiding inside an ordinary-looking handful of change. This is Old Coins Explorer, signing off until the next coin hunting adventure, where we will once again look beyond the face value and discover the real story behind old coins.